And welcome. My name is Deborah Sternberg, and I'm chair of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy of Baton Rouge.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Roth, and I'm the vice chair of YEA BR. Everyone is joining us today in listen-only mode. However, if you are joining us live through Zoom, we encourage you to ask questions of our guest speakers using the built-in Q&A function.
Thank you so much for joining our commencement this evening. We have a terrific program for you. We are going to highlight the accomplishments of our graduates. We have two terrific guest speakers, and we have individual recognition for each one of our YEA BR graduates. Tonight, we're going to focus on our students. At a high level, the Young Entrepreneurs Academy of Baton Rouge had a cohort of 26 graduates this year. They represent public, private, charter, and home schools from multiple parishes in the greater Baton Rouge area. Starting in September, these students spent about 100 hours at the LSU E.J. Uso College of Business and ultimately launched 21 startup businesses. This is not a simulation. These businesses were started by high school students and were filed with Louisiana's Secretary of State's office. To celebrate these graduates, joining me this evening is YEA BR Executive Director Sarah Munson, YEA BR Vice Chair Michael Roth, our two fantastic instructors, Dr. Sonia Wiley from the LSU E.J. Uso College of Business, and Baton Rouge entrepreneur Kevin Lyle. We have two terrific guest speakers with us tonight. Secretary Don Pearson of Louisiana Economic Development will deliver brief remarks, and our keynote speaker this evening is Mr. Ashley Bell of the Small Business Administration and Entrepreneurship Policy Advisor for the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council. The Young Entrepreneurs Academy of Baton Rouge is made possible by our sponsors, and three core partners of ours is the E.J. Uso College of Business, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, and Louisiana Economic Development. Right alongside them are more than 100 businesses who believe so strongly in creating this pipeline of entrepreneurship for young people. Over 100 businesses from the greater Baton Rouge area sponsor the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Sarah, would you please paint a picture for us of the YEA BR student experience?
Sure, thank you, Deborah. Our students' YEA BR home base is the LSU Business Education Complex, or BEC. And it's an incredible opportunity to have the College of Business as the backbone of their entrepreneurial journey. And that journey took them from generating a viable business idea to developing a comprehensive business plan with financials and custom brand artwork to actually launching their businesses by filing with the Secretary of State and pitching for seed funding to use for startup expenses. The students started their year by building relationships and partnerships within their class. They received instruction from LSU College of Business professors and area entrepreneurs on many topics relating to business fundamentals and entrepreneurship. And they had learning experiences outside the classroom, like Louisiana Technology Park, where they learned about startup incubators, and Walk-On's corporate headquarters, where they learned about franchising. At our CEO roundtable, they networked with Baton Rouge area executives. They heard their stories and asked questions about their experiences. And the students received one-on-one support from mentors and graphic designers as they developed their business plans and their brands. And then in preparation for their investor panel pitches, they practiced again and again and received feedback from presentation coaches to ensure they were really confident for the big night. And then one after another, they delivered their pitches at the investor panel that highlighted the value of their startups. They showcased their collaborations and creativity, and every single business received seed funding to put towards startup expenses. It was really incredible to witness the transformation from students to CEOs. So congratulations to our students for a job well done. Now we will turn the floor over to our guest speakers, starting with Secretary Don Pearson. In January 2016, Governor John Bel Edwards appointed Don Pearson to serve as Secretary of Louisiana Economic Development. Secretary Pearson had served as LED Assistant Secretary and Senior Director of Business Development since 2005. With executive level leadership, his duties include the implementation of domestic and international economic development programs and the state's job retention and creation efforts. With 3 decades of economic development experience, he is the governor's primary representative on all economic issues. And we are so fortunate to have him here with us today. Secretary Pearson?
Hey, thank you. It's great to be here with you, and great to be here with my colleague in Washington, Mr. Ashley Bell. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
We're excited to be with this group of young entrepreneurs here. Kind of interesting to me to be around a group of young people that know about business plans, market research, receivables, inventory, tax documentation, profit and loss statements, things that a lot of young people are not so familiar with. But I want to tell you, I believe it to be a great foundation for you. When I left high school, I went into the United States Army. And then later, after leaving the service, I went into the construction business. I went on to own and operate my own construction company. And in the process of building things and delivering things, I learned to sell real estate and had also a real estate company. So these things were a part of my formative years, and I learned a lot about business operations, about the importance of the daily activities, about the responsibilities that lie in this field as well. I went on from there to work in economic development and actually ran Chamber of Commerce. So a different kind of company, a nonprofit company, but still one that requires that you budget, raise monies, produce revenues, do all the things that are important to operating a business. Went on to there to be asked by Governor Blanco to come to Baton Rouge and be a senior official with the Department of Economic Development, where I have served now for almost 15 years today as the, well, I guess in corporate terms, I'm the CEO. Actually for in government speak, the Commerce Secretary, but that's a different way of saying CEO. I'm responsible for the budgeting of operations and the conduct of more than 100 employees. Again, that's not to really talk about me so much as it is to show you that there's a pathway that connects you from a company, an idea that you have today that can form a solid basis for many chapters of your life as it unfolds in the years to come. So your focus now with your young company is to think of it maybe more as an infant that you have to nurture. If you're successful over time, you'll be able to hopefully advance your skills, identify needs, make the company important and successful. That's the goal of all entrepreneurs. Sounds easy when you say it and rattle it off, but actually there's long hours, a great deal of thought, risk, and challenges that are all a part of this venture, this journey. So to each of you with your own unique ideas and programs, welcome to this world of entrepreneurship, and exciting to see you graduate and move on into the beginning of this journey. It's while an end of a period of your education, it is really a starting line for a lot more things that will follow. I wish you each great success on your journey as you continue.
Thank you so much, Secretary Pearson. We're so glad you're able to be with us tonight. Our keynote speaker this evening is Mr. Ashley Bell. Ashley serves as the Regional Administrator for Region 4 of the Small Business Administration, or SBA, and as the Entrepreneurship Policy Advisor for the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council. Ashley oversees SBA regional programs, offices, and operations across the southeastern United States. He is also SBA's point person for the agency's role in the nationwide Opportunity Zone effort. In addition, he was appointed by the President and recently served as the White House Policy Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Ashley is himself an entrepreneur, having started his first business at age 22. After earning a law degree from LSU, Ashley began his career as a public defender and went on to become a trial attorney and co-founder of a law firm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Ashley and his wife, Lauren, have 3 children. Please welcome Mr. Ashley Bell.
Thank you for that introduction. Thank you so much for that. Good evening, parents. Good evening, community leaders. Good evening, students. Or I guess good evening, graduates. This is just a great occasion to be with you. You know, when I do speeches like this, I usually can look in the file and find, some sort of speech I've done before, but these are different times. You probably never thought you would be doing a virtual graduation, or you may have thought that, since I am talking to the FaceTime generation. So this may be something that may have crossed your mind at some point as being a possibility for you. But I want to start today by really just thanking everybody to put this together. The Baton Rouge Chamber of Commerce, our friends, the secretary who just spoke on behalf of Louisiana Economic Development, and also a huge, huge thank you to all the work that goes on the School of Business at my alma mater, LSU. And so anytime that I can be supportive and helpful, I will be here to be supportive. And this is just a great chance to see some great entrepreneurs. And I was looking over many of the different businesses and just wow, whether it's the role attendance business I saw, or the FaceTiming with tutors, or the dirt dauber digger business, which is a kid from a small town. That would have been a lot of fun to have a long time ago. But I'm just excited at all these excellent ideas. And I want to share with you a little bit about myself and how I ended up in this role, because I know many times I speak to a lot of adults, but a lot of times with younger people, they don't get a chance to meet someone that works in the White House, and especially someone that has a sort of background that right now is very similar to yours at that age. I mean, you obviously started even younger than me, but I want to talk about, why I started my first business. And I think that's important. I think it's important to know why. Because as the secretary said, starting a business is hard. It can be challenging. And there's going to be a lot of days that you question why you risk it all. Why do you risk time away from your family with no sure reward? Why do you risk your money, other people's money? What makes you get up and do it again and again? And for me, it was a little different. I'm from a small town, not that much different than many of the small towns around Southeast Louisiana. And when I was in high school, my father worked at a mill. And there was this law called NAFTA that was passed. And because of that, a lot of mill towns around the country shut down. And I had to watch my dad, who was a manager at the mill. And we had an old mill town where we knew all the families there. And I was best friends with all his co-workers' kids, company picnics and that sort of thing. But when NAFTA came, the business shut down. And I had to watch my dad, who was at the time about 46, 47 years old, have to lock the doors on a building and pass out pink slips to all of his friends and tell them that their run with that company was over and the company was moving overseas. And it was tough because I live in a small town, like probably many of you that know there's only 1 or 2 major employers. And when that employer leaves, it has a really devastating effect on the people there. So we had to make a choice. We had to figure out whether or not we were going to stay and fight it out, or my dad was going to have to move us somewhere where he could find work. What was important about that decision is, like many of you, we love where we're from. And my dad decided to stay in our small town and to find a job. But it was hard because he was middle-aged. He was qualified, but there weren't many jobs. So I had to watch my dad go from making a great salary, a great company, to making 15% of what he was making as a jailer at a youth detention center. And it doesn't matter how much money you make, but if anybody in the room today thinks about how they would feel walking out with 15% of what they had walking in the room today or in their living room today, it's a different life. And watching that, and I watched, my dad, and I asked him a question. I said, Dad, what do I have to do to not be 47 years old and lock the doors on a building and change the lives of everybody I care about? And he said, son, one day the keys have to be yours. The building has to be yours. The business needs to be yours. So at age 14, I knew then that being an entrepreneur was my destiny, because there's no greater act of self-determination economically in this country than being an entrepreneur. And it's driven me ever since. And so my first business was I was still in law school, actually. And my first business I started with my high school friends. And a lot of us had the same story, because all of us wanted to find a way that we could control our own destiny. And like probably some of you, I lived in a town that didn't have a lot. I lived on the other side of tracks that many people called a desert. They called it a food desert because a lot of people didn't have access to food that was healthy. They called it a retail desert because there wasn't many places to buy the commodities that we needed. It was a healthcare desert, far from the adequate healthcare that we deserved. And so because of this desert, my friends and I, my high school buddies of mine, guys that have been friends with me since I was probably in the 5th grade, we decided to build a retail store right in the middle of this depressed part of our town. And the funding we found was from friends and family, people that believed in us, people that thought that if they start this business here, it can be a sign of hope. And I think that sometimes we forget what businesses are, especially when people from small towns and when your customers are people that know you. It's a symbol of hope for people. So my main reason for wanting to start in that location, to start that business, was because too many people in my neighborhood that I grew up with were victims of a failed criminal justice system. And many of them didn't have a way of finding employment. And so we decided that we would start this business and we would dedicate our hires to those people who had been previously arrested, people that had conviction rates, people that when they went to an application down the street at the chain competitors that we had, their applications had a box on it that said, have you ever been arrested? Have you ever been convicted of a crime? And that box boxed them out of an opportunity and left them with not a lot of options. But as an entrepreneur, we determined the application. We determined that we were going to hire people who we knew had good hearts, may need a second chance, because we believe in second chances as a country. And entrepreneurs have the chance to lead the way in shaping the moral fabric of our country by offering second chances to people that need them. And that's the power of being an entrepreneur that I found the most rewarding when I started my business. And that was important to me. So my business was a reflection of my values. My business was a reflection of my want to give back to my community. And since then, I've had a lot of jobs. My resume will show you that I've owned my own business. I sold those became a chain, and sold those to start a law practice after law school. I ended up, having a celebrated law practice. But at the end of the day, there's one thing I haven't done. And I know it's going to sound strange to many of you here, and probably contrary to what you hear a lot of times, but I've never had a job interview. I've never had to interview for a job. And as entrepreneurs, you create your own job. So you're the one that determines where you work, who you work with. So a lot of times I've found lots of clients through different businesses I've had, but also I've had some opportunities in politics and in government that has allowed me to be here with you today. And it doesn't matter what litany of jobs I've had, whether being associate director of Peace Corps, or working at the State Department, or running different quasi-government agencies. I never had to interview, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's important when you think about this from a business perspective. Many times, I'm sure, your parents have probably told you, son or daughter, it's not what you know, but who you know. And you hear that all the time. But I want to tell you just a little bit different twist on that. It's not necessarily who you know, but who knows you, and for what. So when you ask yourself that question, what do people know you for? And I can guarantee you this. If people know you for being someone of integrity, That means even in your business and personal life, you lead with integrity. If you do the things you say you're going to do, if you show up and you show up on time and ready to go every single opportunity, if you're someone people will call for help and know that you'll respond, if people can count on you for those things, then they know you're a good person. And many times, opportunity will find you. And that call will come. That call many times is what's the lifeline of a business. That new client. There's no better marketing than by word of mouth. You can do great with lots of different marketing strategies, but when people hear about you and they know you're going to deliver a product or a service the best way possible, consistently over and over again, then you'll see your business become what you want it to become. A reflection of your values, a reflection of who you are, your family, and the people who invested so much into you. But I can guarantee you, as a business owner, I made a lot of mistakes. And I wish I knew about the SBA when I was in your shoes. And hopefully today, by me telling you what the SBA actually does, you'll be 6 miles ahead of where I was and where most entrepreneurs are at the beginning of their entrepreneurial career. Well, the Small Business Administration has 3 goals. Their job is to help you with counseling for your business. And that's done through what's called a Small Business Development Center. These SBDCs are centers that are jointly funded by the state of Louisiana and SBA. And the closest one to Baton Rouge is actually located at Southern University. And that SBDC is a resource for you that can help you adjust your business plan, do market studies, find great vendors, have a strategy overall for expanding your business. And all of that is included because you're taxpayers. And so I won't say it's free, but I'll say it's prepaid. So you can go take advantage of these opportunities at our SBDC. We also can help you with government contracting. If any of you have a business that you think should be offered to the federal government, then we can help you find out if you can apply for contracting opportunities with the federal government. 23% of everything the government spends has to be on small businesses. So don't just think because you have a small business that you can't compete. That's what we're here for, to make sure that 23% of small businesses are able to compete through our small business program. And also capital. Capital is the third part of our 3-legged stool of support for small businesses. We help people find access to capital when they cannot find it other places. And that's no more important than right now during this corona crisis that we have. Right now, unemployment is the highest we've seen in a long, long time. Many small businesses have been asked to shut down for the protection of people. We've asked people not to gather, and that's been a tremendous hurt on many of our retail businesses and businesses that require people to gather. So the government has had a response that SBA has led, and that response has allowed us to take advantage of 2 laws that the federal government has passed and President Trump has signed that will allow us to provide immediate assistance to small businesses. And let me tell you how that works, because I think it's practical for you to understand it, as well as the business owners that are here with us today. And this program actually was refunded about 2 hours ago. So actually it's back in business. I don't have to go past tense on this presentation. So as of today, the state of Louisiana has already received over $5 billion back into the Louisiana economy from this payroll protection program. And I'll tell you what that means. Since February 15th, the first day that we sort of recognized that we're in a national crisis, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So this law was meant to give people a chance to get back on the payroll, to curb unemployment, to make sure taxes are coming back into the system and people can provide for their families. So what does that mean? So you will go to your local bank. This is a process we work through our local banks. And I can tell you, Louisiana has some of the best banks in the country. We could not get to that $5 billion mark if it wasn't for credible financial partners in Louisiana. So you will go to your bank and you would show them your payroll. And they would take your average payroll, and then they would give you a loan for 2 months of your payroll. Now, that means that you'll make an agreement with the government and say, look, I will not fire any of my employees or decrease their salary below 25% during the next 8 weeks, the time of this crisis. And if you do that, if you guarantee that you won't let anybody go or decrease their salary significantly, you can be able to have that entire loan forgiven. So all we're asking is to keep people employed, and then you can have that entire loan forgiven. We also have a disaster program, which is a loan program, which is really significant for all of you who are really into the financial models. This is a really interesting component and a really interesting loan product for our businesses. Why is it interesting? I'll tell you, because this is not forgivable. The first portion of it can be in advance, and that can be forgivable. But the primary part of this loan will allow small businesses to get a loan at a fixed interest rate, which means if your business has been hurt by the coronavirus, if your retail space, if you can't get customers in your building and you need help, or you're just being disrupted by the economy right now, you can get a loan of up to $2 million. And let's just say you need $50,000. You can get a loan for $50,000. And because this is a crisis, the interest rate will be 3.75. And let me tell you, for young entrepreneurs to be able to get a working capital loan, that means this loan is used for your operating expenses, not to purchase a new building or for something that's a hard tangible asset. This is working capital. Working capital loan for an interest rate of 3.75% fixed, and you don't have to make the first payment on that loan until 1 year from the day you take it out. So that gives you a year to recoup from this virus, to make sure your business is back and running, and use that great business plan that you have. And that great business plan, I can tell you that, your business plans are going to be ones like we've never seen before. Because honestly, for you to be able to think about how to survive and how to plan in something that is unimaginable, like a pandemic, that means that you'll be ready for anything going forward. So that this disaster loan is something that people can stretch out over 30 years, and $16 million have already come into Louisiana businesses to make sure that they can be back on the right setting to get out of, help the economy get out of this crisis and move forward and building towards a stronger future. All of these things matter. SBA is at the forefront of this economic recovery. And what I can guarantee you is this: it won't be easy for any of us. Your road won't be easy, but you're going to learn a lot. And that's something no one will be able to take from you. But I guarantee you, if we're positive, we stay encouraged, and you make sure that no matter what happens, that when people ask about your business, all those great logos that I saw today that popped up for all these great companies, that they think of the great owner behind that vision as someone they can trust, as someone they know does everything they say they're going to do, and they show up and they deliver their best every single time. And most importantly, when someone needs help, you're there to offer a hand. And with that, I promise you, you'll be successful. Thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today, and congratulations, graduates.
Thank you, Mr. Bell and Secretary Pearson. We are now going to move into some time of Q&A. We have some questions we're going to start with, and just as a reminder to our audience, please submit any questions you have for either Secretary Pearson or Mr. Bell in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Okay, Michael, would you like to share with us the first question?
Yes, the first question, Mr. Bell, as White House Policy Advisor for Entrepreneurship, what have been some of your most interesting projects?
Well, I think getting a chance to work with SpaceX was definitely an interesting one. And for those who don't know what that is a private sector sort of transport into outer space. And so it's owned by Elon Musk. And I can say going down to Cape Canaveral and then seeing this burgeoning space market. And I don't think we really thought of it before as a space market, but it is going to be $1 trillion industry in your lifetime. What this administration learned very quickly is that people like Elon Musk can deliver products and goods to outer space and get there up and back a lot quicker than us, a lot nimbler, and many times a lot safer. And so the private sector is entering new territory that we've never seen before. And I think it's probably similar to my parents as they saw aviation become not just for military and for delivering packages. And, they probably couldn't think in the 60s that every day, that today people would be able to jump on a flight without thinking about it. But that's the future that these entrepreneurs live in. Space is going to be $1 trillion industry in their lifetime. And being on the forefront of being able to see that innovation and all of the economic opportunities that can come from it, as well as this president created Space Force, which is a department under the Air Force now. So it's just a fascinating time to see us turn the corner and look at space as a way to drive our economy.
Very good,
Great.
thank you.
Okay.
Here's another question we have from one of our students. What are the main differences, between LED and SBA? So that's a question for both of you.
Well, I'll let Secretary Pearson go first.
Unmuted here, there we go. We're really part of a pipeline, and Certainly SBA represents the federal segment of that. And as you heard Mr. Ashley Bell mention, we jointly operate small business development centers, 10 of them across the state. And so we partner in certain respects. And then on the state side of things, we blend in an important portfolio of small business services. We do a number of things like operate those types of executive roundtables that you may have been a party to. We do some economic gardening work where consultants help identify market opportunities for companies. So it's a portfolio in part, an important part with the federal assets arrayed to us through the Small Business Administration, and then the overlapping opportunities that we have to work together in our small business service centers and in all the programs such as the important payroll protection program and the particularly in times like these emergency times, the economic injury disaster loan program also provides a great deal of working capital and opportunity for our small businesses. So I would say that we're partners.
That's a great answer. I'm just going to agree with him.
Okay, it looks like we have another student question here. So typically small businesses have many different aims and views, goals. How do you lead all of those small businesses toward a common goal during a time like this? Very good question. Either of you think?
Well, I'll jump in first. I think that, all small businesses are different. And many times you can be in the same industry, but you may have a different approach to how you gain access to customers. But SBA, from our perspective, it is to be able to offer those three fundamental opportunities. One is to counsel you. And so counseling, that joint program we have with LED, is to focus on how do we get you a tailored business plan. Now, every one of the entrepreneurs who are graduating today, all of your business plans may have the same headings, but they're totally different. They're full of your ideas. They're full of things that you believe in that are going to put your business in the best foot forward. So it's not about making all of you think the same or do the same thing, but it's about offering similar opportunity to get access to capital, to make sure you have the ideas and the thoughts of experts to support you. And if you need to have an opportunity to diversify your revenue stream and offer your services to the federal government, we help you do that. So that's what SBA does to help offer those opportunities.
Excellent. Mr. Bell, another question. What was your personal experience like launching a business in your 20s? What obstacles did you overcome?
Well, I think that age is going to be an interesting challenge because you don't know what you don't know. And the quicker you realize that, the more successful you'll be. So the key is to be humble because, when you're young you're and things are working out, you really want to just keep plowing ahead. So the challenge was forcing myself to not just worry about the right now, but to really plan for the future and know that people around me who've been there and done that can be really resourceful. And that's why SBA has a separate organization that we fund called SCORE. So if you're interested in having a mentor, someone who can be a free mentor for you who's been there and done that, the SCORE agency you can find on our website or sba.gov, and you can sign up to get a SCORE mentor, which I think is very important. My grandmother used to say there's nothing new under the sun, just the people doing it. And trying to be, as long as you can find someone who's at least been in your industry and had the same challenges and keeping them close, that was my biggest challenge. And being able to be open-minded to those ideas, even though just like you right now, you're in a different world. You have new ideas that your parents and everybody around you never thought about, but the fundamentals of business are still the same.
All right, here's the next question. Thank you very much. When acknowledging your weaknesses, how do we turn them into strengths? It's probably a good question for both of you. We'll start with Secretary Pearson.
There you go.
Well, it's always important to conduct what we call the SWOT analysis. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for any company, any organization? And so as you go through that, and you look at your weaknesses and you want to determine how you would make those strengths, those would actually become hopefully lower risk items in terms of the weakness that they represent to your company. So essentially, in that evaluation process, identify those things that you need to have more of, or a different a way to approach certain challenges of what appears to you to be a weakness in your organization. It's important, and it's also sometimes you have to step back. It's hard for you, the owner operator, who's in the thick of it all day, every day, to get that third party perspective that can be so helpful. And that's why I'll go back to Mr. Ashley Bell's suggestion about a mentor, someone else that can have a different perspective and share that with you, identify those weaknesses, work on them, and over time, they won't be as significant a threat to your success as maybe they are today.
I think that's a magnificent answer. I'm just going to leave that there. Great job, Secretary. You covered everything.
Great. And this one, another question from our students addressed to both of you. How are you both able to establish balance within your life, especially when leading an organization?
You know, I'll start off and say that LSU gave me the greatest gift a man could have in business, and that is a wonderful wife who's not an entrepreneur. And I can tell you, my wife and I met at LSU, and having people in your personal life who are supportive, it is tough because you'll one day want to have families and balance all this stuff out. And entrepreneurship does afford you a great deal of flexibility, but also know that there's really no time off. You work every day. There's no such thing as a holiday. You're always going to be worried about your business when your name's on the door and your signature's on the check. So I can say that, you know, family's important, and taking time for yourself. And the biggest balance I can say is take time for professional development. Don't think you know everything. Schedule time to take classes, schedule time to do seminars, to go to conferences with colleagues in industries. Never stop building your network. And I think people can't underestimate this statement that you hear, that your network can be your net worth. You know, the who you know and the people who know you and your reach into certain industries can really affect your bottom line. And so I urge people to make time for not only your personal life, but also professional and personal development. Become a better person. You know, don't miss out on those opportunities to grow. You can become so consumed by your business that you can forget that there's things in life that you don't want to see pass you by. You want to continue to mature as a person and grow all around.
Ashley's given you some great guidance there, and I fully concur. What I might add is really, if you want to look at achieving that balance that he describes, that is so critically important to your business, to your life, to your family life overall, that requires organization. I think I got a lot of that starting out in the military. There's lots of ways to acquire those skills, but that's what you need to do is organize your life, take time out to make sure you get your fitness, take time out to make sure you spend time with your family, and then put the proper amount of time, not only just in your business, but as Mr. Ashley Bell points out, professional development along the way. There's probably 3 or 4 more things that you could add to the organizational chart that are all important. Your church and your spiritual life is a part of that. But how you get it all done is have a plan and work the plan.
Secretary Pearson, another question for you. When recruiting companies to come to Louisiana, what qualities do you look for?
Well, first of all, much like your business, if a customer walks in the door, you've got to size them up and try to understand what their needs are, what they're looking for, what they are trying to achieve. So for businesses that we seek to recruit, or if we get a call saying that we're in competition for a certain type of project, we certainly do that strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis. And we look for what we believe to be those features that are going to be most appealing to that company. so that we can, if they have a need for a certain raw material that we have here, if they have a need for low electricity costs, if they have a need to move things in a cost-efficient way, we have ports. We're going to turn to all those factors that we can highlight to help make the sale for Louisiana, to win that business and grow our economy here. We have a lot of fun, but that's what we engage in every day.
Hey, another student question. What are some new things that you are learning through this time of crisis and that you feel will benefit you in the future?
Well, I'll jump out there and just say that this virus, the methodology behind having to shut down an economy to get to the point where you and I are looking at each other through small screens on small devices, that just didn't happen overnight, but it felt like it in a lot of ways. And it's fundamentally changed the way our economy is functioning. And I can say what I've learned from it, especially from where I sit, is how important information is in real time and how important credible information can be to small businesses. We just spent $349 billion of federal tax dollars in 14 days. And that the reason that the bill that funded that program had to be reauthorized a few hours ago is because that money went really fast. And the unfortunate part about that is that many of our businesses did not have a chance to get a hold of some of those funds because they just didn't get the information quick enough. Sometimes you can be focused on so much of what you're doing personally as a business owner that you're not looking around and seeing what the opportunities are. So a lot of business owners, by the time they realized that there was help out there, the money had dried up. And so now we're having to replenish that and hopefully put ourselves in a position where we can help more business owners, especially like those here in Louisiana. And so it just goes to highlight information is critical, and you need to get information to help your business in a timely fashion. Get places where you can get information from trusted sources, credible sources, and make sure you are always looking up and seeing what's going on around you so you don't miss opportunities, so that, if something like this happens again, that you're in a position to take advantage of it.
It really is an extraordinary time, and that there's some wisdom in looking around and observing what has happened over the last 30 days, what happens over the next 60, 90, 180 days, a year from now. You're in a remarkable time that no one has ever experienced before. Certainly a big part of survival, of moving forward, is going to be the effective and efficient use of the resources that are available out there. A look at sort of a portfolio of those resources. You could take a look at the OpportunityLouisiana.com website. That's the LED website. And under that COVID banner that you can check there, there's a real robust list of our federal partners programs and resources that are available. That then scrolls down to the state programs and resources that are available. And then finally, we've broken it down into regional resources because they're going to be different in say Shreveport than they are in Lake Charles. So a lot of information is available out there. Your role oftentimes as an entrepreneur, if you want to protect and look out for your company, is to constantly be educating yourself about what the resources are and then how to effectively engage those resources.
Okay, and I think we have one last question for Mr. Bell. This is a good one. As an LSU graduate, what would it take to get you back to Baton Rouge?
Let me tell you, the highlight, not even close, of my entire time working at the White House was being able to leave New Orleans on a Monday, go to work that Friday, and welcome in Coach Orgeron and the entire LSU team into the White House to celebrate the national championship. Highlight of my career by far. So I can tell you, it doesn't take much to get me back to Baton Rouge. I'm there actually a lot. I have a lot of friends there. Best friends I've made in my life are still in Baton Rouge. And in the fall, you can catch me pretty much every home game somewhere tailgating on campus. So let's schedule something in the fall when the world gets back together and we're celebrating and defending a national title. I'll be there.
Count on it.
Thank you, Secretary Pearson and Mr. Bell, for sharing those really great insights with us today. Now let's continue with the commencement ceremony. Each graduate receives a certificate of entrepreneurship and qualifies for 3 credits from the LSU E.J. Uso College of Business if they enroll in LSU within 4 years. Taking us through the individual student recognition are our instructors, Dr. Sonia Wiley and Mr. Kevin Lyle. Dr. Wiley.
Thank you, Sarah. Adam, Ashour, Ifa.
Amaya Ayio, my professional future.
Hope Blacks, spread a little hope.
Cayla Carter, Kay's Creations.
Madison Cooper, Mosaic Styles.
Cara Echols, Pecan Concoctions.
Gregory Field, Roll Check.
Erin Fleming, Chem 3D.
Zoryah Gray, Zophyr.
Josiah Helaire, Alien Head.
Brianna Hubbard, Spread a Little Hope.
Bailey Hyatt, Chem 3D.
Tyron Lucas, Shank Golf.
Michael Malone, Indie Play.
Kenyon Martin Jr., Bison.
Thomas O'Connor, Face Tutor.
Stefik Rainey, Envy.
Clayton Rasche, Dauber Digger.
Nathali Reyes, Beautiful Balance.
Caroline Sanchez, Crazy Cajun Confections.
Braylan Selmon, Brushed by Bray.
Edward Shanks, Beautiful Balance.
Lyle Shaw, Shank Golf.
Brady St. Martin, Zip Draw.
Skyler Stewart, Butterfly Free.
Elijah Williams, Roll Check. Congratulations, graduates. I wanted to take one quick opportunity before we wrap up to tell you how incredibly proud I am, what an honor and a privilege it was to work with you all this year, to see how far you've come from where we started back in September, the hard work you put in, the effort, and the great ideas that you managed to bring from an idea in the back of your head to real live businesses that are viable and active today. And I'm really looking forward to keeping up with all of you and seeing where these businesses go. So congratulations.
And I want to offer a congratulations as well. I'm going to miss seeing you guys on Wednesday nights, but I know I will see at least 4 of you in the fall as you will be coming in as LSU students. And I hope more of you swing that way and become Tigers. And please don't forget, please use us as resources. Use LSU as a resource. Stay in touch with Kevin and myself and Sarah and Deborah and Michael, LED, Mr. Ashley Bell, and all of the people that you have met. Continue to send out email messages. Stay on Instagram, stay on Facebook and LinkedIn and Snapchat. Continue to advertise your business. Keep that mindset that you are going to be an entrepreneur. You are entrepreneurs. And just remember, we're here for you. Go Tigers.
Thank you, Dr. Wiley and Mr. Lyle, not only for recognizing each student, but for your tireless dedication to these graduates and your commitment to their success this year. So everyone, please join me in recognizing our instructors, as well as our volunteers, our donors, and of course, once again, our student CEOs. Now, Now to our students, in the coming months, you will receive a package in the mail with your entrepreneurship certificate. You will also receive a t-shirt with your brand logo, compliments of Giraffic Prints, and a special gift from the team at Lamar and your graphic designers. Each of you will receive your own tabletop miniature billboard with your business's brand. And here are a few examples of how they look. We hope you will enjoy these for years to come. Thanks again to our graphic designer volunteers and the Lamar team for this very special keepsake. Deborah, would you please share your closing remarks?
Absolutely. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you, Secretary Pearson and Mr. Bell, for sharing your time and your expertise with our students and our Baton Rouge community. Thank you to our sponsors and volunteers and school champions. The Academy would not be where we are today without all of your support. We appreciate you very much. And a special thank you to our families for allowing your children, our students, to pursue their ambitions. And on that note, if you've been listening and you learned about the Academy and you now have identified students who are creative and driven and might fit well with the YEA BR program, please refer them to us at our website, yeabr.org/refer. And if you're currently in 7th through 11th grade and you're listening, this is your chance to stand out from the crowd. Apply today. We are looking for young, aspiring entrepreneurs, and that could be you. We hope you've enjoyed the commencement of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy of Baton Rouge. Congratulations to the 2020 graduates. Please follow us on social media. Help us spread the word. Thanks and have a great evening.